Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 340. We are covering, me and Eric Holmes, along with Bruce Purkey up in the attic. We're covering movies for the week of Friday, April 17th. These movies are Mārama, Wasteman, Ballistic, Amrum, and Eagles of the Repubic. Bruce Purkey has coverage of Wasteman, Mārama, and I believe Amrum, so he has that covered up in the attic. He's doing fine, I believe. I haven't listened to his portion of the show yet, but it's always value added with Bruce Purkey, and also very value added with my buddy here, Eric Holmes. Eric Holmes, how are you? What's the last week been like? What have you been doing? Just think in your noggin. What's the last 7 days been like? We haven't talked since then.
Pretty good. I'm living in the future as far as karaoke goes. Got some wireless mics.
Oh,
and we've been having a lot of fun with that at karaoke.
Are they better? Are the wireless mics better for what you do? Do you find an improvement over the wired mics?
Yes and no. I just have the one. I'm gonna probably get more, but the wired mics are good because they're just wired straight to the board, so you don't have to worry about battery and all that stuff. But the wireless mics are fun. Like started Piano Man, and the song's 80 minutes long, and everyone knows the song, so you just start the song, pass the mic off to someone else, and then eventually the mic makes its way all the way around the crowd until the end of the song, and so that's fun.
That's very nice.
One of the guys at Toki, Cole. Oh, what was he singing? I can't remember what song he was singing, but he was sitting all the way in the back while he was singing the song, so it was like just no one sitting on stage. I just went up to the mic and just started lip syncing the song while he was singing, doing the karaoke singing. That was fun. And then wireless mics for karaoke. Would heavy recommend.
Eric, for your job, you have to be good with people, good as a presenter. What is the big prerequisite for what you have to do? I'm sure you have to make sure.
I mean, you got to be able to talk, which came in. It seems obvious, but last week when I was sick, there was like a couple of days I couldn't work because singing wasn't possible, let alone talking. It's next up we got.
Do you ever do a fake DJ voice, or I do a fake? Hey everyone, it's Greg Srisavasdi over at CinemAddicts, and this is what we're covering this week. Do you ever do that?
A little bit. I affect my voice just to make.
Oh, really? Like what? What do you sound like? Hey everyone, or do you go, hey everyone? Hey everyone.
I turn the bass way down.
All right.
And then I just enunciate. I probably can't do it now, but
you enunciate better?
I enunciate more, and I make it clear instead of saying like everyone, Ben's up next. Hey everyone, coming up next is Ben. Come on up to the stage. Where's Ben at? That sort of thing. Say their name a couple times and make sure that their name's clear. So because people are drinking and talking and whatnot, so when I talk, I want to be loud and clear. So everyone's crap. That's me. I'm up next. Let me go up there.
Eric, maybe you and I should be a little bit clearer on our podcast. What do you think?
No.
I love it. No, hey, Eric's the boss, okay? He has someone chained up at the end.
It's different with podcasts because podcast people are actively listening, and karaoke.
We get zero listens on CinemAddicts. You didn't tell only Bruce Purkey up in the attic listens. He's
again all the more reason why we don't need to enunciate. Who's going to listen to it anyway?
Very good. Folks, that was not an AI edit. That's actually Eric's voice. But here's the thing. Whether it's one person listening to CinemAddicts or 500 or 5,000, me, Eric, and Bruce will be here on a weekly basis giving you, hopefully, some really good movies each week that you might not be able to see on your local streamer. You know what I realized this, though? I realized by doing what we've been doing, Eric, at least with me, you, and Bruce for the last 6 years, with Anderson the first 5 years. I've been doing this for 11 years. Eric and Bruce hopped on halfway through, but they've been doing a lot of work. First at Find Your Film, and now here over at CinemAddicts. Same type of podcast. We want to give you guys movies that are not out on a Netflix or a Paramount Plus and a Prime Video or, any of the streamers. A lot of these movies are very small, obscure. You might not have heard of them. You may never, ever hear of them. So we want to give you an alternative viewing pleasure possibility
Or
via cinema,
in
right?
the case of movies you have heard of, such as Project Hail Mary, we'll tell you about that 2 years before
Very good,
before we even
Eric.
see a trailer.
So, Eric, before we start with the movies, that type of branding, which is cinematics, I will say this because of ChatGPT and AI. I've been trying to hammer you and Bruce Family Show the last several weeks about AI. AI is telling me that we should be just covering streamers in the big movies. That's how we're gonna go from cheeseburgers to a Wellington steak or beef Wellington, I suppose, with some nice onions or whatever. We would make more money if we just covered the streamer slop. What do you think about that, Eric? There, AI is saying we should cover the big stuff instead of the small stuff. What do you think? What say you, Eric?
I mean, I'm going to cover one of them today.
Ooh, I like that. So but you're not selling out because you're balancing the checkbook. That's what you're doing, right?
I
Big,
mean,
small.
I watched the movie anyway, and it was good, so I figured I'd talk about it.
Okay, very, very good. At least I think what Eric's gonna do, because Eric actually is a heart and soul when it comes to interviewing a lot of indie filmmakers and actors for the cinematics. Please join us on this mission to find some interesting movies every week that may not be on your streamers. And I think we'll make a better. I need to make a better, do a better job of telling you guys when a lot of these movies that we covered. Let's say we covered movie A several weeks ago. I have to do a better job at keeping track when they come out on digital as well. So we just keep on reminding people, Eric, like waves, and I've got to figure out a way to organize that. But Eric, I am praying that one of the movies this week we're covering, the first one we're covering is a hidden gem, possibly, Eric. This is a movie that me, Bruce, and Eric covered. You're going to hear Bruce's review of this film called Mārama in a second after we're done with cinematics. Over at Cinematic, you'll be doing that review. But here is a plot synopsis for this interesting Maori Gothic horror flick. Quote, set in North Yorkshire, Victorian England, 1859, Mārama is a story of a young Maori woman named Mary. She's played by Ariana Osborne, who is fighting to reclaim her identity and indigenous culture. When a young Maori woman is summoned from New Zealand to this North Yorkshire place, she uncovers secrets about the fate of her family, namely her parents. There's an owner of this really big Gothic style mansion, and this Englishman is named Nathaniel, played by, I believe, Toby Stevens. He plays Nathaniel. He is the lord of the manor, and it's not a spoiler alert, but he knows the Maori language. He's passionate about the Maori culture. But this Englishman, you can tell right from the get-go, he's a very rich man. He is a former whaler, and you're thinking maybe he's not exactly a very sweet human being. Possibly this Englishman, again, his name's Nathaniel, with all the power and rich wealth he has, he might have done a lot of sins in the past. Were some of these sins and violence and compromises and all that manipulation, were they at the expense of this young Maori woman's family? You'll get to figure out as the journey and the interesting interweaving plots of Mārama unfolds.
Spoiler alert. What do you think happened?
Don't you lead the question, Eric Holmes. But he's not leading the question. We're leading you towards that path. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah,
there's certain things that are spoilers, and then there's certain things where you know what's about to happen. You don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but you know where this is going.
I think I'm going to put words in Eric's mouth. I think Eric is a fan of Gothic horror movies. Oh, Gothic horror flicks set in. Oh, okay. So you're a little bit.
I like this setting. I think a lot of them are a little too slow for their own good.
Okay. Too atmospheric for their own good, slow burns. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, right, Eric?
Well,
sometimes
no,
they're derivative.
So, no, the atmosphere, I usually dig them in Gothic horror. It's
right.
the
like the others.
The story takes way too long to get to the point, and I hate that.
All right. Okay.
If I'm half an hour into it and you haven't, and I don't know what your story you're telling, or I'm not getting like I get the atmosphere, I get the tone. What is this about? We're a half hour and I got no story yet. What the hell movie am I watching? And you haven't told me yet. I'm gonna start checking out.
Right. This movie was directed and written by Teratoa Stafford. I don't know if you knew this, Eric, but I believe this is his feature film debut. This is his first ever feature script that he wrote, Eric. And this guy's not like in his early 20s. I think in his late 50s, early 60s. So I could be wrong on the age, but later in his life, he creates a film debut, which is also his screenwriting debut. And from my opinion, my review of this is, it's first of all, the production design is fantastic. The acting, especially from Ariana Osborne as the lead, is very fiery, spirited, and just intense. There are a bunch of flashbacks in the movie, which because Mary, she's Maori and she has a little bit of the power to see into the past or see other spirits possibly. There might be a supernatural element or because she is a natural seer and that plays into the narrative as well. It's a very layered film for me. There's some really violent moments in this film that grip you, and I think the caveat though is it took me when you watch it the first time. There's a lot of things that happen, and it can be slightly confusing on what happens to who because the flashbacks, which explain a lot of stuff, they might go a little bit too quick, and the family tree in Mārama is very complex. I had to figure out the math a couple of times, but I absolutely love, love, love this movie. Eric, would love to hear your thoughts. Maybe even if you don't agree with me on this, I'd like to hear some kind of differing opinion, possibly. I don't know. So, what do you think?
I thought this got better as it went along. The beginning of it was, I'd say, like the first 15 minutes, or I think it was like first 7 minutes is when she finally starts talking to the guy and you figure out like what it is. I'm like, cool, what were we doing that first 7 minutes? Because so far nothing's happened. And then they start talking and then they leave and then don't talk again for a while. And then they're like doling this out like really slowly and not in a particularly interesting way. It's not until the movie starts finally starting to come together and like the back half of it starts to get a lot better. And it gets crazy, that's for sure. I think it really starts taking off right around that party
Hmm.
when that Irish guy or
Yeah,
Scottish guy or whatever.
yeah. Eric's mentioning this guy who's leading the party, and he's reenacting a scene where they're killing a whale. And this person, I forgot the name of his character, but he's a very intimidating person. And he is a close friend of Nathaniel, basically the right-hand man of Nathaniel. And
Yeah.
you can surmise that maybe back in the day when they were younger, they were both whalers. And it was Nathaniel who became really ultra rich from being a whaler.
I
So,
I would almost argue that you could start the movie right there and it would be fine because everything before that's like
hmm.
slow rolling almost to a fault. And there's another movie we'll talk about today that kind of slow rolls some information, but it does it in an interesting way because the story's continuing to progress. The
Yeah.
mystery's there, but it's not a mystery as in what the hell is this? It's a mystery of, oh, okay, they're looking for this. How are they going to go about it, or what's going to come of it? With this, it's just kind of what's going on? Why is she there? Oh, you got to talk to so and so. Oh, they died. Okay, why? What happened? Oh, we can talk about that another time. Let me walk away now. It was like, no, let's come on. We're here. Let's tell a story. But it just seems to slow roll that too much right about the part of that party where that Irish guy shows up and all the way to the end, that's when it gets really good. And that's
Mm,
the part I actually like a lot about this. Especially like when they do that thing with the whale and then she does like I'm it looks like she's doing a haka, but I don't know if that counts because hakas are generally a group, like a
mm,
group thing. Like I think it started off as a war chant, and now people use it for funerals, weddings, formal events, and stuff.
right.
She was definitely doing it in the context of a war dance because she was not happy with the guy. But hakas are awesome. So anytime I see a haka in a movie or anything, I'm happy. So that definitely bumped this up a little bit.
Okay.
I would say the ending's kind of maybe we'll have to talk about that. I will
Okay.
say that I like the ending. It was a little esoteric, but I dug the ending. Overall, this was a recommend. It's just maybe next time get to the point a little quicker, I think.
Very cool. What is your rating on?
I'll probably go 3 stars on this.
Cool.
I
Three
think I
stars.
think with the if the first half could have been a little tighter or more interesting or just something about that first half I just did not grab me at all. This probably could have been like 4.5, 5 stars, but as it is, we'll go 3 stars.
Yeah. For me, I really love this movie. It was a bit of a slow burn. You're in very claustrophobic space because you're figuring out this mystery while Mary, again played by Ariana Osborne, is figuring out the mystery herself. What happened to her parents? Where is her family? Who is this Nathaniel guy? What does he mean in her life? There's a lot of cultural situations regarding Maori culture. In real life, Territory Stafford's mother was Maori. He was raised in different places across the world, and I believe his father, his late father, was British, I believe. So he was raised in two different worlds of Maori culture and the English culture as well. And he infused some of his personal stories within the fabric of Mārama. And I will say this, it is a very compelling film. And when you try to figure out what's going on, it might be a little bit, I don't even know if serpentine's a word, but or confused. It's not confusing to the point of frustration, but it's just it's an intricate film and it's really well done. I actually half saw it a second time and it gained power for me. Initially, I was going to give this movie 4 stars, but my final rating on Mārama, directed and written by Territoa Stafford. Yes, Eric Holmes.
I was going to point out, because I haven't finished the movie yet. I tried a couple times. I just can't do it. But Hamnet,
Mm,
I keep getting to the half-hour mark and just, I can't do this.
yeah,
This is kind of like that. And I've heard that Hamnet gets better in the back half, kind of
right.
like how this one does. So have you seen Hamnet yet?
No, no, I
I
actually haven't
wonder
seen
if
it.
people, because like
Mm,
people seem to love Hamnet. I don't get it, but again, I haven't seen the rest of the movie. This has that kind of slowness, or in my opinion, dullness at the beginning. So
mm,
maybe if you're a fan of Hamnet, give this a shot. I
that's
don't think
fair.
Hamnet is a horror movie. This one definitely is, but
Right. Yeah,
uh,
this movie is
yeah.
a horror movie on many, just different levels. Horror, maybe on a supernatural horror. There's a horror possibly regarding family generations and anti-colonialism stuff interwoven in the story. I just really loved it. My final rating for Mārama is 4.5 stars. So 4.5 stars for me, 3 stars for Eric Holmes. Would love to hear what you guys think of this movie. It hits theaters April 17th. If it's playing at your local theater, I'm just saying, great alternate viewing, very intense movie. It's from Dark Sky Films and Watermelon Pictures. Looking forward to hearing what Bruce Purkey has to say about Mārama. I feel like, Eric, I think you have a really interesting movie coming up, but do you want to go first or do you want me to go first for? Because you have
Oh,
this movie called Ballistic. I have Eagles of the Republic. I'm going to yield the floor and you can decide which movie should
um,
be covered first.
let's do Eagles of the Republic. I don't even
Okay.
know what that is, so I'm curious.
That's none of your business what Eagles of the Republic is. I know you're the boss, Eric, but don't tell me what to do.
What do you think you'd come here just to hear what I think of movies? Get the hell out of here.
I know. I'm going ballistic on you right now. No. Very good, Eric. Eagles of the Republic currently, as of this recording, it has a 70% Rotten Tomatoes rating. I disagree with that in a good way. I think it should be higher. That said, this movie is getting 70%. I think, Eric, 70% is okay. Not bad,
No.
right? That's solid.
I mean, in some
This
cases, 50% is great because it divides audiences, and that's what you want. I
Yeah,
don't know if
Eric,
that's the case for Eagles of the Republic, but
here's the thing. Do you like thrillers? It's a big
yes.
genre. Okay, broad scope. How many thrillers do you think are humanistic thrillers? And how many humanistic thrillers? Because,
What
right?
What do you
A
mean?
humanistic meaning filled with humanity. Thrillers that have not really,
I
because a
mean,
lot of them are exercises in genre, and I don't see
uh,
many humanistic thrillers, I suppose.
are you talking about something like Reverence, something like that?
Oh, very good. Yeah. Very right.
Uh,
That's a very I love that movie. Very good. Yeah, very hard to find movies like that, right? Or do you disagree? You can find movies that have a lot of humanity that are thrillers.
oh, we kind of cover a bunch of them. I
Okay.
would say there's a bunch, but
It's
based on
hard
what
to,
you're saying, they're not ones that you would normally. They're not mainstream, I suppose.
right. And this one it's weird because this one actually is has a mainstream element to it and there are a lot of things to love about Eagles of the Republic. That said, it's being released on Friday, April 17th. Probably not in a million multiplexes out there, but the production design is fantastic, and it's directed by Tarek Saleh. Tarek Saleh is a director that probably I had no idea about. Eric probably had no idea about. But if Eric and I went on to IMDb and looked up Tarek Saleh's work, we'd see he was the director behind a movie we both enjoyed several years ago called The Contractor, which stars Eric, what not, which stars not Eric Holmes, which stars Chris Pine and Ben Foster. So I think if you look that up, you will remember it. Yeah, that's a good movie by Tarek Saleh. But this one, Eagles of the Republic, is the final installment of his Cairo trilogy. This Egypt set film centers on George Fahmy. Fahmy? He is a star of Egypt, probably Egypt's most celebrated movie star, and he's played by Faris Faris, the actor Faris Faris. And pressure in this movie, he is pressured by the country's highest authorities to star in a government-backed prestige film. George reluctantly accepts, only to find himself drawn into the inner sanctum of political power as he begins a dangerous affair with the general's mysterious wife. He becomes ensnared in a world where desire, loyalty, and cinematic illusion collide with forces far beyond his control. In theaters, April 17th. So George is a big star, played by Faris Faris, and he has the world on a string. Everyone loves him. But when the government comes calling and tells him, you need to be in a movie, star in our political propaganda film, or else they threaten to do something possibly to his son. And George is saying, okay, that's a straw. I've got to actually kowtow to these people and start doing their bidding. So he starts this political propaganda film playing the president and in this supposed true story. And while he's shooting this movie, there is a lot of drama going on. As the plot summary says, he gets into a relationship with the minister's wife. That's not a good thing. He's not divorced from his own wife yet, but he's living with a way younger actress, and she lives with him in his apartment. So he basically has 3 women in his life. He's trying to look out for the safety of his son, and he's trying to navigate this minefield of starring in a political film. And will this political film affect his career? Or most importantly, could it lead to his own death or a tragic fate that could befall any members of his family? So within these elements, there are a lot of thriller elements. This movie is also a movie that if you saw it on the big screen, it would look, the production design and the visuals are gorgeous. It really looks pretty on screen. But if you are basically expecting a Brian De Palma or Alfred Hitchcock type movie, you're not going to get it. If you're expecting something like an Adrian Lyne Fatal Attraction exploitation thriller with quick cutting, you're not going to get it as well. This is, I believe, at least a little bit over 2 hours. This is a methodical, humanistic thriller that's more of a character-driven look at this actor. Again, George Fahmy, played by Faris Faris. He's very good in this movie. It's about the principles that this really great actor has, but he's also a narcissist. What happens when you realize that you're not as powerful as you think you are amidst the evil clutches of this government? So that is Eagles of the Republic. Beautifully shot, really well acted, directed by Tarek Saleh. I have not seen the previous Cairo trilogy installments, the Nile Hilton incident or Cairo conspiracy. Yes, Eric?
I don't know if this is spoiler, but what you're describing, is that anything like Anniversary? Towards the end, people thought they were untouchable, and turns out they weren't untouchable.
I will say this. You are a little bit right on that. There is a little bit of an element where, because Eric, sometimes in life you think you've got all the cards when really you think you have a really good hand, where actually the hand you've been dealt is not as good as the hand that's next to you. The house always wins sometimes, and that's not too much of a big spoiler for Eagles of the Republic. But I will say this: it has thriller elements. It's pretty to look at, but it's not a genre-fied thriller. It's just a very character-driven, humanistic exploration of this actor. And I know I'm making it sound boring, but I really love the character-driven world of Eagles of the Republic. Some people might find it to be a slog because again, it is 2 hours and it takes its time to tell the story. But if you get into the groove of this atmosphere, which I did, it's really a feast for the eyes and a feast as far as the storytelling goes. Eagles of the Republic, for me, really, really love this film. 4.5 stars. 4.5 out of 5 stars for Eagles of the Republic. Let me see if it's
They
playing.
play. Do they play Hotel California in this, or
They do not play Hotel California.
King of Hollywood? Maybe.
Right, right. It's in theaters April 17th. Egyptian set film. Definitely want to watch the previous, like I said, 2 installments of the Cairo trilogy. And Eric, I know you don't remember the Contractor that well, but if you look up on IMDb, you've got to say, "Oh, I remember this movie. I remember the Contractor."
I think I remember that. That's I don't remember the whole plot.
Stakes.
I remember because it came out after Hell or High Water.
Yes, right.
It
Yeah,
was like not as good as Hell or High Water, but still pretty good.
that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Ben Foster still sort of the same type of guy, but
Yeah.
not as great as his character in Hell or High Water, but still good. But that is, yeah, that is a Contractor, Eric Holmes. But again, that is Eagles of the Republic, 4.5 stars for me, April 17th, in theaters by Cohen Media Group. We'd love to hear what you think of this movie. Finally, we're gonna close out. We're not gonna close out the show. There's gonna be one more review, and then Eric has a big movie to close out the show. But this one, I don't know. Maybe this movie might be big. There's a film called Ballistic. There's a bullet. There's Lena Headey in it, and she's from Game of Thrones. She sounds directed and written by Chad Foss. And I saw the trailer. It could either be very cheesy or very interesting. Eric Holmes, what say you? And what is Ballistic about? And your review.
Lena Headey, she works at a bullet manufacturing plant, and her son is like in the military, some like army probably. She gets laid off at her job, and then after she gets laid off, she finds out that her son died. And then as she starts looking into what killed him, she finds out, or she suspects that her son died from one of the bullets that she manufactured. So there's that little survivor's guilt, and then you add on top of that, oh, I created the instrument that killed my own son, and that's where they're going. And they go through this pretty quick, and I'm looking, we still got an hour of movie left. Like, where are they going to go? Is it just going to be sad bastard like her grieving the whole time? I don't understand how there's more movie. And then there's more movie, and this goes in directions I wasn't quite expecting.
How were the directions, though?
What's that?
How were the directions? Were they good directions? Were they interesting directions? Or were they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It almost became like a Kill Bill thing, because she's starting to she'll write down a name on her hand, and then that whole next segment will be her chasing someone down, either threatening them or trying to get information out of them. Basically, so she's blaming herself, but she also wants to project her blame onto someone else, because this is probably getting into character stuff, and I might be wrong about this. Someone might have a different read, but I saw her as, I was the one that created the bullet that killed my kid. That's too much for me to handle, so I'll find a way to blame Greg for it, so he can share some of the blame for me. That's what I was getting from it.
Does that make her character a little bit more likable, unlikable, or maybe understandable because you understand that?
Yeah, neither one. It's just I get it. She's blaming herself for something. I mean, a big theme of this is, I'm just doing my job, which the movie clearly does not like that excuse, and I agree with the movie. If your job is stepping on babies' heads,
right?
Sorry, saying I'm just doing my job's not going to cut it.
That's true. Yeah.
At the same time, from her perspective, they're manufacturing bullets. Her son was killed by a member of the Taliban. They should not be getting those bullets. Those bullets should be sold in America, used for whatever, used for American Army. The fact that what American-made weapons goes towards the enemies and then gets fired back at us, that's got more to do with politicians or whoever's giving weapons to our enemies, and less to do with her actually making them.
What is this movie for? Is this movie for people who prefer dramas, or people who want an action film or both?
Oh,
Because
it's not an action movie. It's got certain elements of that, but it's definitely a drama. And the thing is, like when it's got that Kill Bill element where she writes down someone and then she'll go and interact with them somehow.
sure.
But every time she does, there's a tickle that same nerve that tickles me when I watch courtroom dramas. Because now Eric's talking to Greg, and Greg's not just taking it. Greg's also coming back at me with stuff. So there's whenever she interacts with someone, there's always an argument or a discussion to be had, and those are always interesting in this. I think the one knock on this was the ending, and it ended a
Mm.
bit too schmaltzy because I was like, dude, if this thing's six landing, this is going to be a easy 6.9. But then when it ended, I was like, the
Mm.
rest of the movie was so much better than the ending. The ending wasn't bad, but it wasn't that strong. I
Do
probably
you
would
mind
have
after?
worked on the
Do,
ending a bit more.
do you mind
But
telling what the ending is after we're done recording the show, and I can record that too?
yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
I mean,
Awesome.
it's not even what the ending is. It's just the whole movie is kind of gritty, serious, and the ending gets like just real schmaltzy.
Okay.
It's like the whole tone switches, and I didn't really. I see where they were going with it, but didn't really buy the ending. That said, rest of it's really freaking good,
Okay.
really damn good, and it was
Okay.
a bunch of stuff like
Holy what?
this is not the movie I thought I was watching, and it's better in a lot of ways. It's just the ending fizzles out, but other than that, the rest of the movie's definitely worth watching.
So you're giving it 4.5 stars, Eric Holmes.
Yes, four and a
So
half.
you thought, Eric, you thought the movie going in was going to be blank.
Oh, it was called Ballistic, and it was a close-up shot of Lena Headey with like glasses on. I thought it was going to be like a, I don't know, like
Like
a
you said,
King Ivory, something like that.
okay. All right.
And I guess in a way it sort of was, but King Ivory's more actiony.
Okay.
But yeah, this was
I forget. Am I missing out
what
on
do I
King
want to?
Ivory? Eric, am I missing out since I haven't
Oh
seen
yeah,
King Ivory? Oh,
King Ivory is great.
okay.
But I'm trying to think. Actually, the Ballistic did have kind of like a lot to do with Reverence, because with Reverence, he wanted to find his daughter, and the stuff that he's doing is messing with the cops' investigation. So everything that he does that he thinks is helping is actually hurting him.
Sure.
There's a lot of this in Ballistic. So the
Mm.
tone's a little different, but it's the same thing of a character kind of being their own worst enemy a lot of the time.
All right, Eric. That is a very good find for you. Ballistic, that's 4.5 stars for you. Theaters and digital April 17th. So worth a rental, right, Eric?
Yeah,
Huh?
I would say so.
And so last blank for you is rent Ballistic if what? I know I'm playing the
You
match
like
game.
good movies.
Come on. Simple enough.
I
I
would
love
say
it.
I would say Ballistic, just prepare for kind of a not great ending, but I think just me saying that, you're probably thinking the ending's a lot worse than it is. So by the time you get to the ending, you might be like, what's they were talking about? That wasn't that bad. Imagine it being the worst ending ever, and then when you get there, you'll be like, Eric's stupid. That ending was fine.
Eric,
And then you actually like it even better.
do you think most people will agree with you regarding the ending, or do you think you will be in the minority when it comes to that schmaltzy ending you're discussing?
I don't know, because my whole
Mm.
thing with the ending was like I was loving the movie so much that like if they just nailed that ending, it was like this is like one of the best movies of the year. They
Okay.
nailed that ending. And you get kind of like that. Not saying that they need to see dead people the whole time, but an ending like Sixth Sense, or not so much a twist, but like something that's like really strong and sticks with you. If they would have had something like that,
All right.
my hairs would have been standing up and jumped off my arm and ran away.
Very, very. That's great, great movie pick. I'm glad you were able to watch it this week. Again, we did not get to this movie called Mabel. None of us did. I'm looking at our Google Doc, and I hope I'm gonna eventually get to it, and I'll review that. There's Amrum from Bruce Purkey. He's gonna cover that, and Wasteman, I believe. Wasteman. He's Bruce Purkey's gonna cover that. But before we get out of here, Eric has another possible good recommendation for us, and he has gone to the evil empire known as Netflix for his review. I feel maybe Eric and I think we're getting a little bit dirty just talking about a Netflix project because Eric and I, at the top half of the cinematics universe, we always talk about these obscure little films, and I, I'm looking at all of the high view counts we'll get from this review from Netflix. I don't know. Thrash. I hear it's a viral film. It's very good. I don't even know what it's about, Eric. Can you give me context? Why should I see it? What do you think? What's your take on Thrash?
Have you seen Crawl?
Is that a shark movie? I still haven't seen
It was an
Crawl.
alligator movie.
Alligator
The
movie.
storm comes in and it floods the area and alligators go around killing people.
Right, and is that the same director who did that one movie we liked a couple of years ago? Yeah, I forget.
Alejandro Aja
Yeah, yeah.
did High Tension and the Piranha 3D
Okay,
movies
yeah,
and
right. Okay,
yeah,
yeah. Aja is very talented.
yeah,
He did that movie. Crawl, is that he did Crawl, right? Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
He did Crawl.
And you
So it's
seen Crawl?
no, I haven't seen Crawl.
Oh,
I
this
should
is
see it.
Crawl with sharks.
Oh, okay.
It's exact same setup. Instead of alligators coming in wreaking havoc, this is sharks coming in wreaking havoc.
Okay.
Bull sharks specifically,
Okay.
because even though Jaws is popular, apparently, and I'm not a oceanographer or biologist or whatever, but I've heard that great white sharks aren't very aggressive. In fact, if they bite a human, it's usually on accident because they think a human's something else. They'll bite into them and go, "Oh no, not what I was looking for," and they'll leave.
Oh, dude,
Bull
this movie's.
sharks,
What are you
bull
talking
sharks are
about,
apparently what people think great white sharks are. In fact,
Eric?
what's that?
Dude, I'm such an idiot. Before you even did this review, I am an idiot, period. But Eric, it's directed and written by Tommy Wirkola,
Yeah,
which I still haven't seen Violent Night, but I remember I'm looking on IMDb right now. Sorry guys, if you, on the video, if you see the glare on my glasses, I don't know, like Eric, I don't know how to do the unglaring thing on the thing. But I've interviewed him a couple of times. We all of us loved the trip from 2021. It's with Numi Race or Past or
yeah.
however you've and
And
what
the guy that
happened?
looks like Bill Burr, but not
Yeah.
Bill Burr.
And dude, what happened to Monday? That movie rocks. But yeah, I haven't seen Violent Night. But again,
Hey,
Eric,
they did what happened to they didn't do what happened to Monday.
yeah, Tommy Wirkola directed What Happened to Monday. I love that movie. That is just
No, they did the trip.
yeah. But
Did
there's
they
What
do?
Happened to What Happened to Monday came out in 2017. My
Oh
gosh, it's
yeah,
been
they
that
did.
long. It's been that
Uh,
long, Eric. Time is going by so freaking. You know what?
they did Snow.
I did not see Spermageddon, a family show. Don't know what that is, but
Not
Violent
yet.
Night. Yeah, no, there you go. Put up a family show. Okay, I've been messing up your review left and
Armageddon
right.
is not a family show, although it may create.
So Eric, Thrash. What is your review and your take on the movie?
So yeah, you got. I mean, if you've seen Crawl, it's same setup. I think where this does a little better than Crawl, and Crawl's great, and so is Thrash. Like if you watch Crawl and you're like, I need more of that, then definitely put in Thrash. If you've seen Thrash and you haven't seen Crawl yet, and you watch Thrash and you're like, I need more of that, go watch Crawl because they're both very similar in setup. Thrash, I think where Thrash kind of edges out Crawl a little bit is I think the Shark
Ooh.
Mayhem is a lot more grisly and like I love the shark kills in this a lot more.
Does it make it
There's
okay? So Eric, sorry, is it top tier shark film because of the like you said the Shark Mayhem? Does it make it a top tier
the Shark
film for you?
Mayhem, and also there's characters that they're definitely like two-dimensional characters. It's like, oh, this person's a real a-hole, and they're probably setting them that up so they can get eaten by the shark. But then there's also characters that aren't a-holes. So there's characters that are actually pretty nice or pretty good, and characters that you're rooting for. They also get they also get killed by sharks. You kind of
Eric, that's a spoiler alert there are people who are killed by sharks in this movie, right? You can't say
no,
that.
it's not.
Right,
It would
exactly.
be a spoiler alert to say no one got killed by a shark, in which case everyone would say, I'm not watching that movie then.
Right.
If the
Yeah.
shark doesn't kill people, what the hell are we even doing? How many people saw Shark Tale? No one. Why? Because the sharks in that movie did not kill anyone.
That's another spoiler alert. No, I'm kidding about that. Okay, that's very cool. So even though two-dimensional characters, you are still
Yeah.
invested in these characters who either
Not all
survive
of
or
them,
fight it.
but some of them.
That's so.
So the yeah,
Are you
so
surprised?
there's
Are you surprised by some of the? Oh my! Did this movie surprise you at some of the kills
a
or
little
the
bit
twists? Oh,
because there's characters early on that get killed, and they're the characters that kind of are set up in such a way as well they're gonna make it through, and they might not make it through the very end, but they're gonna make it through a lot of this, and they get killed almost immediately,
that's
and then so
awesome.
it does that thing where it sets up. There's okay, no one's safe in this. F me, then we'll
Right.
see what happens.
It
Um,
reminds me of that movie that Danny Boyle film Sunshine.
yeah,
Remember, it's sort of
I love
there are.
Sunshine.
Yeah, I love that movie too. There are a couple of actors, not gonna say if it's male or female, who get it a lot sooner than I thought. I go, what? Right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I know you know the one I'm thinking of. So,
Now there is some bits in Thrash that are stupid.
but fun stupid because it's supposed to be stupid because it's a shark movie
Uh,
stupid.
for instance, there's a guy that pops up out of the water, a guy that you thought was dead that just pops out of the water after
Mm.
someone's been having a conversation for 10 minutes to where you're like, were they underwater this whole time?
That's funny.
How are they
Yeah.
still alive?
Yeah. It's intentionally cheesy, probably
One
that.
there's a situation involving dynamite in very close proximity that would normally kill someone that doesn't kill them.
Mm.
It's stuff like that.
All right.
If it was in any other movie, you'd probably be like, no, this is stupid. F this movie. But since it's in a killer shark movie, you're like, yeah, we'll go for it. It's fine.
Oh, I loved it. Okay, so that is Thrash, currently streaming on Netflix. I believe it's written and directed, but it's definitely directed by Tommy Wirkola. I believe it stars Phoebe Denevor. I love Phoebe Denevor. What is your rating on Thrash?
I think Thrash is total 3-star banger.
Okay, the star
Like
banger.
you kind of yeah, much Crawl. If you've seen Crawl, whether or not you like Thrash, and if you've seen Thrash, whether or not you like Crawl, these movies are going to be forever linked in my head, and they're both great. But if you're not into Shark Mayhem movies, this might not be the one that turns you onto it.
Mm.
But if you like Shark Mayhem movies, it's probably one of the better ones for sure.
All right, that is Eric Holmes's review of Thrash. It's a 3-star banger, and it's again streaming on Netflix. I am probably the only one who has a Netflix account that hasn't seen this movie. Eric, did you just get? Are you starting to watch movies on Netflix? What's going on? I don't forever. Do you just get an
Um,
account, or what? Or are you starting to watch Netflix now?
I can't remember why I saw it.
All
I
right.
think I think Netflix popped up or something popped up, and I saw a shark fin with blood in the water. I'm like, whatever that is, we're watching it.
Okay. Very, very cool.
When it comes to like shark attack movies, it doesn't take much to get me to watch it.
Okay. Eric Holmes has to go. Oh my gosh, Eric, you have to go to work pretty soon. We're gonna leave right now. Eric, you want to say anything before we get out of here? Because you're gonna talk for about 3 minutes regarding the ending of that movie, Ballistic. But before you get out of here, you want to say anything to our wonderful
Um,
Cinematics people? We haven't gotten to the year 2000. What is it? 2000. No, 1980 is our Patreon. I have to post something. We're gonna do something at the end of the month for Patreon. But final thoughts, Eric Holmes.
yeah, Mārama, I wasn't a big fan. Still recommend that one. I think give it a shot. See if that's more your wheelhouse than it is mine. You
Yeah.
might like it more than I did. Ballistic, definitely check out Ballistic. And when you watch it, expect the ending to completely suck. So when it comes, you'll be like, that actually wasn't too bad. I don't know what Eric was talking about. And then you'll like it even more. And Thrash, Shark Mayhem, go for it.
All right. Yeah. That
Next
is.
week, banger
Go ahead.
season begins next week. We
What?
got
What?
Frankie Maniac Woman in Omaha. And yeah, I haven't seen
Yeah.
Kangaroo Island yet. Maybe we'll check that one out. And we got Fuse, but Frankie Maniac Woman in Omaha. Get excited.
Before you get out of here, can you look up Fuse on the computer and Fuze? Fuze.
Fuze?
Yeah, look up. I'm going to surprise Eric Holmes right now because he mentioned something
Um,
regarding Fuse. Okay, Fuze. What do you get, Eric Holmes, when you go to IMDb?
oh, that's right. That's right. We talked
What do you?
about Hell or High Water earlier today.
Yeah, exactly. That is
Yes.
David Mackenzie is the director of Fuse, and he's also the director of what, Eric Holmes?
Hell or High Water.
There you go. There you go. So I'm just saying, right? Crossing
Yeah.
fingers that it might work out again. So, like Eric
Oh,
says, Omaha, Frankie Maniac Woman, that is a maniac film. Fuse and Kangaroo Island. And I want to say one more thing. Beast, we were not able to review it. Hopefully some of you guys have seen Beast, because that was a banger, and we were not able to review it. We were not allowed to because we saw screening link, but
I think Beast is getting around. I've been seeing it
good.
around lately.
Good. Love it.
So,
That's it, folks.
yeah, we can't review it, but I mean, if you're watching and like it,
Yeah.
I
At least we can
wouldn't
recommend
surprise me
it.
if you
We can recommend it. Go see Beast. Tell us what you think, okay? All right,
you
that's
go.
it for us, me and Eric, this week. And yeah, thanks you for supporting us over at CinemAddicts. I think Eric and I try our best. Don't support us, actually. Don't support me and Eric. Support Bruce Purkey. He's up in the attic. He doesn't have food. He has some good movie reviews, though. But anyways, here's Bruce Purkey over at the Cinematic.
Welcome to the Cinematic, the Attica Cinema, where I usually climb down from my attic and get into Eric's house to tell you about movies I saw this week. But this week, you're climbing up to me. I don't know why. You just are. I decorated a little bit. I don't have much decorations. Cobwebs, a few rats in the corner, a single chair, bucket, TV with various streaming devices attached to it so I can get the streamers. Anyway, this week I've got three solid streamers for you. Actually, not even streamers. These are 3 solid screeners. So check it out. This week we've got Amrum. We also have Mārama. Now those are 2 different movies. It sounds like I just took the same letters and mixed them up, but Amrum and Mārama are 2 different ones. And then I also have Wasteman. Wasteman sounds like a movie about a garbage man, but it is not. So let's get to them. All right. First up is Amrum. Amrum is directed by Fatih Akin, A-K-I-N. Fatih Akin. This is taking place in Germany right at the end of World War II. It stars a bunch of people, but the main character you're following is a kid named Nanning, played by Jasper Billerbeck. And this is on the island of Amrum, which I've never even heard of. It's a very small island in northwest Germany. But by all accounts, if you just looked at how this island looks, you would say, oh, this is some little Scandinavian island with fishing villages, very small like communities that they make their living off of just going out and fishing and living in small houses. And essentially that's what the area looks like, what the little community looks like. The only difference is they have, since they're in Germany and it's at the end of World War II, they have swastikas flying outside of their houses, along with the whale bones and things like that. And Amrum stars, the main character in Amrum is Nanning, like I said, Nanning, this little boy. He's probably 10, 11, maybe 12. And at the beginning of this movie, he is hanging out with his friend. They are like digging up, I don't know, like potatoes or something, helping local farmers. You find out that very quickly Nanning is part of the Nazi youth. He's a true believer. He thinks that the Nazis are great. They're the government he's running. He knows they're at war with the British and that they're fighting the good fight. That's his world. That's probably been his whole world. He's not that old. He's been around mostly just when it has been the thing. Plus he lives on a small little island, so he's pretty isolated. And the woman that they are helping dig the fields up happens to just mention offhand something like the war is coming to an end. The war is almost over, something like that. And at dinner that night, Nanning mentions that just offhandedly, and his mother gets very upset. His very traditionally nice-looking mother gets very, very upset and immediately starts grilling Nanning about who said this, because to say that the war is coming to an end essentially is like a crime against the greatness of the Nazis, even though by all factual accounts and by any evidence at that point you would know that the war is about to end. To say so is treasonous and could be very dangerous to the woman who has said this. And Nanning wasn't trying to get anyone in trouble. He was just talking about what happened that day. As you might guess, we get to see the mom's true colors. And within a few minutes of this movie, the war is not only close to an end, but Hitler has died. He has killed himself in his bunker. And Nanning's mom does not take it well. In fact, she's just had a brand new baby, and she goes into depression. You could say it was like a postpartum depression if you didn't know any better, but I think her depression really is mostly based around the fact that they've lost the war, the Nazis have failed, and Hitler is dead, and she won't eat. And the rest of the movie just becomes almost like a slice of life of this little kid Nanning, trying to do something nice for his mom. She won't eat. She says at one point, the only thing I'll eat is white bread and honey and butter. Probably pretty symbolic since with her political leanings that she doesn't want rye. She only wants white bread with honey and butter, which of course, a lot of the supplies are really hard to come by on this tiny little island at the end of World War II because things are very scarce. Things haven't been going well probably, and supplies aren't very readily available to the average person, even though you can tell that like Nanning's family looks like they're pretty well off as they are members of the Nazi party, very obviously. Their house seems to be nicer than a lot of other people there. They have, like I said, they have the swastika flying out front. And as the movie progresses, the interesting thing about this one is you get to see through the eyes of Nanning how his world changes because his perception of his own reality and his own place in the world changes as he discovers that maybe he's not on the good side. Maybe his parents are the bad guys. His dad's off to war, by the way. You don't see his dad in the whole movie. They talk about him, but you never see him. This plays out in a way like a lot of movies similar to this. Hope and Glory. We had Blitz a couple years ago. These kind of movies where you see the world of war, especially World War II in those two particular movies. I guess Come and See even is somewhat of a movie like that, where you see the war through the eyes of a child. But in those movies where you're seeing kind of the horrors of war and survival of a child and the ability of a child to find kind of joy in the midst of these terrible occurrences, here it's different because here it's all about seeing a world that a child thought was just a perfectly good, normal, friendly, safe, happy world, and getting to slowly discover through the people around him that it is not that at all, and that there is a darkness out there that he has been by proxy part of. It's like finding out you are part of the bad people, which is very interesting how it plays out. And most of it plays out as he goes on a quest. So you meet a lot of these different people in this town because he's on a quest to get the ingredients and to get the white bread, honey, and butter for his mom. And because all those things are hard to get, he has to keep going from one person to another. He has to go to the baker, and the baker says, well, I need this, this, and this to make the bread, and I don't have these things. So the kid has to go to someone else to find out how to get that item, then go to this place to get an ingredient. And as he goes on this, it becomes like a little mini adventure around the island, meeting up with people he knows in the community and that know him, and all of a sudden slowly getting to see that world through the eyes of these other people as they all know that the war is essentially ended, and how they all of a sudden maybe are treating him a little different. Maybe he's always been treated as his golden child because, unbeknownst to him, there was always a world of threat behind his presence. And now that doesn't exist anymore. He's just a little kid. In fact, he might be a little kid that represents something terrible to them. So in that essence, I think it's a really, really interesting movie, a really cool, like I said, character study and a kind of a character discovery movie. I really like this movie. I think it's really, really interesting. It's a pretty quiet movie overall. So once again, like I said, it kind of has a very simple and basic kind of plot. And the plot is really just there, like I said, to drive these character moments between him and other people and discovering kind of what the world is about him. Another thing I think this movie does really well is it really, I guess it kind of paints the period in very small details, both of the living in that kind of world at that time in general, and very, very specifically this kind of island fisherman life, because you'll see things like he has to take his bicycle and go across these mud flats when the water is low, and what does that look like, and why does he have to do it to get to this one person's house, and what effect might have if he's not very fast. Little things like that, but it's really, really well done. I'm gonna go 4 stars for Amrum. Sometimes we talk about, we go through spoilers and everything. I don't think there's really much of a spoiler here. I mean, really the main, if there's anything to spoil, it's like, how does his quest play out, and how does he discover what he discovers, and what does that mean to him. But it's really more quiet moments for him and quiet discoveries as he goes along. There is one key moment where he's finally getting and achieving his goal of getting this white bread and everything for his mom, and how that kind of plays out. But even then, it's purposefully anticlimactic to make a point. Yeah, this is one of those movies I don't think it's going to be easy to get right now, but when it comes to a streamer, this is the kind of movie that would probably come to like Criterion, or it might come to Hulu. Hulu gets a lot of these indie movies when they get released to streamers. And when it does, really, really worth checking out. That is Amrum. 4 stars for me. Okay, next up is Mārama. Now, Mārama is directed by Teratoa Stappard. Hopefully I had said the name correctly. If I didn't, you can find out by listening to the interview with the writer-director by Greg. He interviewed that person, and they probably say their name correctly, so you can ignore my pronunciation if it's wrong. This is, once again, kind of interesting. We had these 2 different movies that are about versions of realizing kind of your place in the world and your identity in the world. And this one is similar in that sense, but very different in the way that it gets there. So it starts with our main character, Mary Stevens, played by Ariana Osborne. She is definitely front and center in this movie, the kind of the driving force of this movie. She's in nearly every scene, and she is the focal point. When she arrives basically in England from New Zealand, she arrives to become, she is called there by, this is a period piece, by the way, 1800s, mid-1800s, if I remember correctly. And right at the beginning, there's a little warning about New Zealand culture and some of the terrible things that have happened in New Zealand culture, and it might be somewhat triggering, so to be aware of that. It warns you up front. She arrives, she's been beckoned out there to saying that there's information about her parents. If she comes out there, this person who knew her parents, named Thomas Boyd, has written her and said, come to me and I can give you information about your parents. But the problem is, when she gets there, he has already died. She meets with a person that he knew, a Nathaniel, who is a owner of a large British manor, kind of your classic stone Gothic British manor in the 1800s. And Nathaniel, played by Toby Stephens, he basically says, I knew him very well, and if you're out here already, and I really respect your people. She's half Maori. I respect your people, and I would love if you could help be the nanny for my daughter, or actually my niece. It's his niece. And if you could be the nanny for my niece, this would be very, very helpful, and you could stay out here, and I can see what information I can find out for you about your parents. And that's how she gets pulled into this kind of mysterious Gothic storyline. And at the beginning, I was thinking, like, this is going to be your lower budget, indie, kind of a horror, Gothic horror movie, just full of jump scares and mysteries and all the tropes that you get in Gothic horror, which would be fine. And for the first 30 minutes or so, it was that, but it slowly starts to transform in a way that I think is really, really interesting. And in fact, a movie like this usually is going to progress to the point where the big reveal about her parents and her lineage would happen at the very end, and that would be kind of the revelation. But here, you get pretty much all of that information probably in about the middle of the movie, so that the second half of the movie becomes much more how she copes with and how she deals with that information. Now, I'm not going to get into spoilers right here, but I might do a few spoilers at the end here. First of all, this part is not spoilers. Like most Gothic horror or mystery kind of movies, especially the classic ones, there's going to be locked doors and mysterious rooms and things like that. In this case, she keeps having visions. She sees mirrors and she sees people screaming and blood and who are we seeing? What's happening? And early on, you discover that her sister was the mother of this young girl. Her sister had come out there apparently not that long ago. They had been split up as children, Mary and her sister, and they were twins. And the sister had come out there, basically married to Nathaniel's brother, who also lives there and is drunk now because the sister has disappeared apparently. But has she died? That's one of those Gothic mysteries. Is she really dead? Is she there somewhere? And that's the first kind of revelation, right? Very gothic too. Once again, like a sister, a long lost sister, and a mysterious past, and a child, and what's really going on here, and who's this Nathaniel guy, and why is he interested in all of this? And the young girl wants to be taught more about Maori culture, but she's been getting some of it. And then there's even like a secret garden aspect. Once again, almost like The Shining or something, where in the middle of this manor grounds, there's this kind of hedge, like I said, secret garden, where you've got like this circled hedge where inside of there, if you rotate this bench, it lets you inside of this hedge circle, and inside there's a perfectly preserved traditional, I wouldn't call it a hut exactly, it's traditional wooden home from Maori culture. And when Mary sees this, she almost has a out of body experience, or she like faints and she has visions and stuff, like something really bad about that. And the little girl points out to her the meaning of some of the parts of this structure, but also says it's locked. You can't go in there. It's forbidden to go in there. So once again, that's a secret. So all these things are basically leading up to what you think is going to be the big reveal. Although most of those reveals, like I said, happen in the midpoint of the movie. Once again, the performance of Ariana Osborne is fantastic in this movie. She goes from the meek, servile, traditional kind of woman's role, especially a half Maori woman's role in British culture in the beginning of this movie, to by the end of the movie, she is fiercely standing her ground in several different ways. I really, really love her performance, and I love kind of the arc of her character in this movie. And like I said before, probably the first third of this movie, I was like, this is a standard sort of movie. Second third of this movie, I was like, this is pretty cool. This is a little different than I thought. The revelations happen and other things start happening. And the final third is really fantastic. And I think the fact that it really sticks the landing with this movie, and I think really goes out with a bang, just elevates this movie all the more. I was trying to think where I was rating this movie, between 3.5, 4 stars, 4.5 stars, I think I'm going to lean to 4.5 stars in this, because I think the final act is so good in this movie, and kind of surprising. Not surprising in the sense that you couldn't have guessed what some of the relationships were, but surprising in the way that it plays out for the characters. I think it really, really elevates this movie and makes it something special. So I'm going to go 4.5 stars overall for Mārama. And I am going to go into a few spoilers on this movie as well. One thing I'd like to mention really quick before I get into the spoilers, though, I talk about it being gothic, and a whole bunch of this movie is about colonialism, right? And the effects of colonialism on Maori culture, and specifically on the character of Mary and her family. And I love the fact that you take this highly English Western kind of story structure and format in this kind of, like I said, this gothic horror scenario, and the movie itself kind of appropriates that and reshapes that and takes it and uses it for its own good, which I think in informal terms of the movie itself is doing to this kind of Western structure what colonialism itself has done to the Maori culture. And I think that's fantastic. It is stealing this form that's so like English and Western, and basically twisting it and turning it into something that is for the use and for the storytelling and for the ownership of the Maori culture. And I love that about the overall format of this. Now, a few of the quick spoilers. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but I'm going to give you some of the broad strokes here, which I thought was really cool. First of all, through the first part of the movie, you think you're heading up for the whole movie to be uncovering these family details, but most of them get uncovered in the first half of the movie. Like I said, you find out that her twin sister was the woman of the house who had the young little girl. You find out that she either went to an asylum or she died or she was murdered. Either way, she is gone. You find out that possibly Nathaniel was also involved. And you think it pretty quickly. You think he was involved in bringing the girls there or taking the girls from Mary's parents, Mary being one of the girls. And you get the idea really quickly. He's a bad dude. And he has like a right-hand man too. I don't know if I wrote down his name. I should have. There's this one right-hand man dude who's got the tattoos and everything, the face tattoos, but he's kind of like also very bad dude. You kind of get the feeling like he's the guy that would do all the dirty work for Nathaniel when he wants something done. And there's this whole like kind of sub story of whaling and stuff going on, and murdering the whales, and seeing that kind of blood, and the way they're taking these great giant creatures and just killing them for things to hang on their walls, and perfume, and just using them for whatever they need. That kind of a whole heritage of whaling being terrible. And that is playing into this as well. But really the most fantastic moments, spoiler-wise, in this movie are basically Mary has found out almost all of the secrets. She's found out essentially Nathaniel and all this stuff has been evil, that essentially her and her sister were taken and essentially raised to be wives to these white dudes. And you get the feeling very quickly that they're grooming Mary to be similar, because they want her to wear the same dress that her sister used to wear, and take care of her sister's daughter. So it's like kind of they're trying to push her into that same role. And you get the feeling Nathaniel kind of is obsessed with her as well, obsessed with Mary. And in the final third, it starts with this huge party that they're having, and all of their friends, the white dude's friends and everybody, are over, and they're all dressed in like Maori drag. And like, it's like the most overt version of both mocking and just talk about stealing and just abusing the culture of another people just for your own like entertainment, and just they're just making a mockery, and it's just really grotesque. And she's there watching it almost as if she's supposed to be enjoying the show. Everybody's just, like I said, dressed in essentially like Maori drag. And the right-hand man dude for Nathaniel just does this like kind of this whaler's dance where he's just making fun of killing the whales and of the Maori culture, and just, it's just really horrifying to her. And that just sends her over the edge. It just sends her into just full-on warrior rage mode. And the rest of the movie is her just taking back everything. I mean, she kills that one dude, the right-hand man dude, pretty brutally in a pretty great way. She has this fantastic kind of huge, puffy Victorian red gown, which obviously is just makes her look more fierce, but also it's opulent. And the whole time she's doing these murders and stuff, she does that. She doesn't do like a ton of murders. She does that murder. And of course, this leads to the final revelation where she finds secret passageways, which you always do in these movies, secret passageways that lead underground and lead back into the inside of that little cabin / little Maori home that they have recreated in the center of their grounds. And in there, Nathaniel is waiting for her, and Nathaniel shows his greatest trophies, because all these things from Maori culture are just artifacts, trophies. They'll take artwork and weapons and all these things and just put them on their wall and put them behind glass, because that's what you do when you're in a colonial culture. Inside this little home, he's kept his greatest trophies, which are literally the mummified heads of Mary's parents and Mary's sister. He has a box there, and he opens it up to take out Mary's sister's head as his final trophy. And of course, that's her last straw. And of course, she will end up taking him out in a fit of rage and a fit of fury and revenge. And then the final act is for her to reclaim the heads of her family and take the young girl with her and take them off. And presumably, they don't really say, but it looks like in the last shot that she has taken them back to New Zealand. That's what it looks like. And that she's finally brought them back to their rightful home. Really, really cool movie. I like this quite a bit. 4.5 stars for Mārama. Okay, last movie I have this week for you is Wasteman, directed by Cal McMahon, McMahon, McMahon. I hope I said that right. Cal McMahon. There are quite a few different characters here, but the two main characters you want to know is Taylor, played by David Johnson. Now, I immediately was like, I know that guy. What do I know that guy from? This guy is awesome. And this is one of those actors that is starting to show up in things, and you will probably see him and go, I've seen that guy in something before. What have I seen that guy in? And every time you see him, you're like, he's great. This guy's going to get an Oscar, or at least some more Oscar nominations in the next few years. This guy is on his way. He is the dude from Alien Romulus. He played the, android synth guy. He was in The Long Walk as one of the two main leads. He was in Rye Lane. He's been in a bunch of things. He is fantastic. He's your main lead here. playing Taylor. And the other main lead is Tom Blythe playing D. And Taylor, when you start this movie in Wasteman, is basically in a British prison. He's in there for, I think, 15 years, they say. And right out of the gate, there's kind of intercut throughout this movie little clips that look like gritty, like cell phone footage from inside the prison. If you know about prisons, people like smuggling cell phones all the time. And it's a contraband, but it's a way they can communicate and get information out or to each other. So almost like I said, almost like interstitials between scenes, you'll have a bunch of these little like clips that almost look like documentary, but I don't know if they're documentary or not, but they look real, of just like violence and drugs and crazy stuff happening in prison. And then you get to the actual scenes of the movie. And it happens throughout the movie that'll go back and forth between these little like interstitials. And in a lot of ways, if you've seen the movie Starred Up, Starred, Starred Up, which is this really fantastic, gritty English prison movie from the mid-teens, this is almost like a spiritual sequel to that. And here, like I said, once again, you have your main character of Taylor, and he's there in his cell. He's just making his way through. He I guess is the Wasteman because he does do drugs to cope with his world. I don't remember if they say exactly what the pills are. I assume they're like a oxycodone or something like that, or OxyContin. It's some sort of a pill that he can crush up and snort. And I'm assuming it's some sort of an opiate that he gets. And anyway, he gets that in payment for doing things like, you can see he's a cook, and he'll do the like in your cell cooking cuisine. He also cooks in the actual cafeteria for the prison. He also does haircuts, and early on you see him doing haircuts for kind of you can tell they're like the prison wing warlord type dudes. They're the dudes that kind of run the wing. They have the drugs, they have the power, and you can tell they're threatening, but if you're on their side, they probably are going to be okay with you. The problem is the beginning and inciting moments of this movie are when Taylor gets a brand new cellmate named D, once again played by Tom Blythe, and this dude is obviously bad news. Like, he comes in and immediately he has the whole cell with Taylor just filled with contraband, filled with candy and all this stuff that would basically be obviously stuff you can use to buy anything and trade with anything in the prison. Candy and food and sodas. He had his own switch in there immediately set up. So obviously from wherever he came from, whatever prison he got transferred from, he had a level of power within that system. And he's coming here and he's just setting up shop and he's ready to go. Strangely though, very quickly, you think, oh man, this is going to be a total threat to Taylor and this Taylor's going to be in danger. Actually, this guy immediately befriends Taylor. He becomes nice to him and they're getting along pretty well. Taylor really, really quickly also finds out that he's going to get an early release because his offense, which was a drug-related death, that he didn't kill someone directly, but he had sold someone drugs that had caused them to die, some extra strong drugs. Those kind of offenses have got basically reassessed throughout the system and are getting early releases because of the overcrowding of the prison system. And they're deeming them not as big of a threat, and therefore they're going to give those people early releases. So Taylor's going to get an early release, and you know that in the next couple weeks. So essentially this movie's going to have about a 2-week span, and you're like, oh boy, what's happening leading to Taylor's release? And meanwhile, you've got this D guy setting up camp in the cell with Taylor and causing a kind of a disruption of the power structure of this wing, obviously, but also at the same time, like I said, befriending Taylor. He gives him a cell phone. He lets him contact his son that he's never contacted since he's been in prison all this time, and slowly builds up this relationship with him. And as you might guess, the kind of wing kingpins and this new guy D are going to have conflict very, very quickly. And neither side is going to be very, very, I guess, receptive to living with the other person having power within that system. And as you might also guess, this puts Taylor right in the middle, because Taylor is friendly, or at least mildly friendly, to the original Kingpin dudes. He cuts their hair and stuff, and he gets drugs from them, and he basically just keeps a low profile. Meanwhile, like I said, this new D guy is expecting his new buddy in his cell to have his back, especially when it comes to the growing animosity between D and the current kingpins of the prison wing. And that's really much all you need to know. If you like gritty prison dramas with a good deal of tension, or of course a relatively deal of violence. There's always violence in these kind of movies. If you like those kind of things, I think this is going to be a really entertaining movie for you, a really solid movie for you. It never goes ultra cartoonish. Like, it always stays really grounded. There are a few moments that might kind of stretch belief a little bit. There's a point where someone has to get a weapon, and I wondered like how there was no system there to account for the missing of that weapon. It seems like that was a plot hole, but you can let that kind of thing go in this movie. But I think the strength of this movie, other than just creating these really grounded and interesting and really volatile characters, and almost the opposite with Taylor, with him being like almost the like I said, he's the guy who wants to just keep his head down, and he's forced to take sides multiple times in this movie in ways that are really dangerous to him. And I think that's the key success of this movie, is this kind of a ratcheting up of tension around the character of Taylor, and how is he going to navigate the ever-growing violence and threat of violence between these two sides, where Taylor that is stuck in the middle and having to figure out, how does he survive? Which side does he pick? And if he doesn't want to pick a side, how in the heck is he going to possibly survive this situation without something terrible happening? Really good, really entertaining movie. Does it go like a really above and beyond and get like deep into characters? It goes a little bit with Taylor. I mean, definitely you can see him as a human being and what his motivations are and his relationship with his son that he's missed and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, like I said, it's a prison crime thriller to some degree. So I think as that, it's very, very solid. I'm going to probably go 4 stars for Wasteman. I could do a spoiler. I don't think I'm going to really do it, but I could do a spoiler on like how the final sort of a showdown situation plays out. But I don't think there's really an advantage to spoiling that here, other than to say, I think the way that played out was satisfying and kept me guessing to some degree, and definitely kept the tension really high all the way to the end. 4 stars for Wasteman. Once again, a really, really good and solid movie for this week. In fact, we had 3 really, really good movies this week. I mean, it was a good week for the cinematic. And I don't know, I think the other guys have a bunch of other movies too that sounded like they were pretty interesting too, and I only got to see these 3. So once again, to reiterate, I've got Amrum, fantastic kind of period piece, character study. I've got Mārama, which is like colonialism, characters, revenge / retribution to the world that's taken her down. And then last, you've got Wasteman, gritty British prison movie. The last thing I'd say about that is, this will be really good when you see it on streaming, because in Wasteman, it would be really have been helpful to have subtitles. And usually with streamers, subtitles are not available, which is weird, unless it's obviously like a non-English speaking movie. But in a movie like this, which is purportedly English speaking, it would still be really nice to have subtitles, because boy, I tell you, the accents and the dialogue is already full of slang and British slang, and then British dialect, and then British accent is very thick in the prison, and it is really hard to understand what they're saying without subtitles. So I just made do, but I guarantee it would be helpful to have some subtitles in some movie like that. Anyway, that's all I got for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found some cool new movies to add to your watch list, because definitely at least one of these 3 could be up your alley. And that's all I have for this week. We'll see what we have next week for you. And as always, fuck ice. Guys.